Hey, this is Bryce, and thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel, Jack of Trades. We're doing part 5 video of our HPI Baja 5B Flux Build series. In our last video, we pretty much finished building up the chassis. We have something that's starting to look like a car, and now we're going to do kind of some last minute assembly steps. Today we're hoping to get into building the roll cage, getting that installed, building up the shocks and getting those installed. And that's probably all the time we'll have for today. Then the final video will be getting the wheels installed, the body installed, and looking at maybe wrapping up the electronics. We'll see. Anywho, I'm gonna go ahead and flip the camera around and we can get going on this video. Thanks for watching. Alright, so in the last video we ended the flux portion of the build where we basically finished up the chassis. And that was our amended step 22 on page 70. So the next step is to go to page 48 and start with step 90. So we'll go ahead and do that. And that is the step 90. We start to build the roll cage or the roll bar assembly. So at this point, since we're coming off the Flux Build, we need to open up bag K. And we've got that with us today. Here. So step 91 has us installing a majority of the roll cage. So we're going to need this, we're going to need this, we don't need this yet. We need these two pieces that we just push nuts into, and we'll need this guy here. This part is symmetrical, so it doesn't matter which way it goes on. And that concludes step 90, moving on, or 91, sorry. Moving on to 92, we're going to install the roof plate, and then these supports for the wing. Should kind of drop in. If it doesn't drop in, go ahead and loosen up these side screws. The wing has an adjustable angle. That's having us set it at the lowest angle. So these front screws you can just screw in because you're going into a nylock nut, and the back one you're going into that aluminum cross brace, so you should go ahead and use thread lock on that screw. Moving on to step 93, we install the roll cage onto the vehicle using body clips, and then we have some plastic washers in the front of the vehicle. We're getting two different sizes of body clips, so we should use the larger ones. You want to go ahead and clip, this clip clips onto this roll cage, this vertical support, and then once you do that you can push these front pins in and the rear pins in as well. And then these plastic washers go up in from the bottom. Let me flip the car over on its side so we can see what we're doing. I want to bend these body clips so it's easier to insert. So just take a big set of pliers and bend them on your workbench. So they're flat like that, and I want them bent like that. Moving on to step 94, we get into shock building. So we're going to start with the front shocks. Alright, so the front shocks, we're looking at bag L. So in step 94, first step of shock building, we're building the seal cartridge. and we're installing the shaft with the boot. There we go, one cartridge. Alright, so large bushing, and then just kind of mash this clip in there. Oops. Don't let it go flying, man. You'll lose that one. Oh, just like that. Alright, found it. Alright, let's try it again. Oh, okay. I found that clip. I shot across the garage twice and I managed to find it. I need to come up with a better way to install these because the risk of losing them is high. Alright. So we got one end in. Then you kind of walk it around a little bit at a time. There. That's easy. It was hard because I was trying to do it in the air for the camera, so that was much easier. And if you want to, because the boot is kind of sticky, you can help that out with a little bit of, a little drop of oil. So then we're going to install the shaft through that bottom cartridge. Let's put a drop of oil on the shaft. So we'll put the washer on first, then we'll put the bushing on, then we'll take the piston, go ahead and put the piston on, then we'll put the second washer on, and then we'll put the nut on. Well, that's interesting. The piston shaft was rotating inside of the rod end, the plastic rod end. So this, I think this is, I don't know if this is threaded on or if it's over molded. But that's not a good sign. So be careful how tight you make this nut because it will turn the shock shaft within the rod end. I think it might be pressed in or over molded, but it shouldn't. I wouldn't expect it to spin like that. Anyways, to finish this stuff up, let's go ahead and put the wiper on, like so. So now we move on to step 95 where we assemble the shock body. So we have a little O-ring to shield the shock cap, and then we have the big O-ring. It's kind of a friction O-ring for the collar, adjustable collars. So those get inserted in there. And these are two multi-tools to tighten that up. Okay, and we're done with the shock bodies. That's step 95. Moving on to step 96, we're going to go ahead and do the shock assembly, where we add oil and then we put in the bottom of the shock. So we'll go ahead and use our stand to help us with this. And we'll go ahead and fill this up to the bottom of the threaded area, like so. Let that sit in there. Fill this up, like so. Let that sit. Then so they say fully compress it before you tighten it. So we'll gently slide this in. You want to be careful not to jam it in there because it'll squirt oil out. As far as using the tools to do do that final tightening. So use this tool here, and then you can use this tool here if you have that boot pulled past. So they're telling you to pull this boot past here like so. You can insert this through this tool. This is a good way to tear your boot. So let's do it how the book shows you, and then I'll show you an easier way to do this. So use the tool to help tighten that cartridge. Alright, like that. And then you gotta pull that boot back. Make sure the piston goes all the way down. Mine feels like it's locked up, so I need to relieve a little more oil inside there. Otherwise you won't get full travel. So I need to come back, get my paper towel in there, push down on the shaft some more, and then go back and tighten that up, like so. It's been a while. This is kind of messy. So what I'm going to recommend doing is just using some wrenches on this, because this is kind of silly. Alright, so we'll get an adjustable wrench. Use that wrench there, an adjustable wrench here, and tighten that up. And then we got good travel. Okay. Now we'll move on to step 97. So 97 is where you put the boot on. And then we put on the spring. So just like any other RC car shock, got your little retaining cap at the bottom of the shock. So you slide your spring on, put the retaining cap, make sure not to pinch the boot, and that's it. Oh, nice. So I just popped that ball in and it cracked this shock end. So let's see if you can see that crack there. So that's not good. Yeah. I guess we'll run it for now. I'm gonna go ahead and keep building. I have replacement parts from my other Bajas, but that's kind of a bad thing. Alright, so that finishes step 97. Okay, and here they tell us to set that gap to 10 millimeters, so we'll go ahead and adjust that. Moving on to step 98. We're going to install the front shocks to the car. Okay, so let's get the car over here. You put these little guys on the bottom here, like so. Shock drops in through the top and bottom A-arm, or control arm. And then we have this long bolt that goes through. So they want you to install this guy like this, which obviously creates a bias towards the front of the car, where it wants to push the shock towards the front. And we will go ahead and install the upper mount as well. So this just slips over, and use a screw through there, into there. And there's a nut, a captured nut that screws into. Okay, so in this case I'll go ahead and put the screw in from the front. That, and we'll get that spacer in there behind. That, we got that all the way through. So yeah, that answers that question. You want that spacer behind the shock. So the bottom of the shock is biased towards the front of the vehicle. We move on now to step 99, where we assemble the rear shock parts. So we'll do the rear shocks. Okay, so let's get the car out of here, make some room. For step 99, we get into bag M. And that completes step 99. So moving on to step 100, we will assemble the shock bodies. And that concludes step 100. So now in step 101, we fill the shocks with oil and assemble the shocks. So let's go ahead and do what we did on the last one, fill it up just below those threads. So that is step 101. We will now move on to step 102, where we install the springs onto the rear shocks. And we're going to set that gap now to 12 millimeters. Okay, those are good to go. We'll bring the car over here and we will install the rear shock tower. And that takes us to step 103, the rear shock mount installation. Okay, so you want to put these aluminum spacers in the bottom here, as shown. And then shock mount comes in like this. Short screws go on top. Alright, so that's step 103. We'll move on to step 104, where we install the rear shocks. So the longer screws go on the bottom. Alright, and that is step 104. And that basically gives us a slider chassis. So basically a pseudo slider. The chassis without wheels. So we now have a chassis without wheels. And we're that much closer to being done. And we have what looks like a Baja. It looks great. The next step will be to assemble the wheels. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking through the build series. Hopefully these videos have been helpful for you in your build. If you have any questions or comments, please comment below. And thanks again for watching.